Hey, Loco sports fans. Coach Powell snuck in the back door. I popped him in here. Loco wrestling fans in particular, and there are more and more of these days. We're converting people all over the place, boys. The gym was full this weekend at Hilton Head High. We had a lot of kids wrestling out at the Loco Championships. So a great time to touch base and talk wrestling in the Loco. We got George Dixon, the Dean of South Carolina officials, the Hall of Famer, and Coach Powell, the reigning state champion coach, trying to build another state championship squad over at May River. And I'm Justin Jarrett, talking wrestling with you on a Sunday night. What's up, boys? How y'all doing? You recovered from our little marathon last couple of days?
Been a long one, but we're getting through. It's Sunday,
How's that
day of
voice, pal?
relaxation, right? So,
And I was back over at Hilton Head today. I didn't get enough of it this weekend. My daughter had her dance winter program over there, so I was over there from about 12 till about 6. So if I don't have to go to Hilton Head for a couple of days, I'll be happy.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, it was I called it the traveling circus, and that's the title of the episode tonight. Welcome back to the traveling circus. It was great to be back in the gym and see all these people that we haven't seen, a lot of them for several months, but we're going to spend the next few months with and get really reacquainted with, and just a lot of friendly faces, and everybody's so supportive of one another, of the kids, and of the sport, and wherever you are in building your program, or wherever a kid is in their journey. Everybody's in their corner and picking them up and pushing them on. And it was just all good vibes, man. I really enjoyed being back in the wrestling scene here, and getting to see all the good people doing good work, and more kids wrestling. Middle school was awesome on Friday night. I liked breaking that out to Friday night. Logistically, it made a lot more sense. For us to, at least for us guys who coach both, it was way simpler for us to take the middle school on Friday and then take the high school on Saturday. And we had a lot of success. Had a lot of kids win their first match and get the hand raised, and some of them get a medal. And yeah, you guys know, as I do, how important that is. For most of the time, when you start wrestling, you're like a little kid, right? And winning that first match and getting that first medal is a big deal, and it really propels you on. So it's important for us to remember that these kids that come to it late, they might have to wait a little longer for that to happen. But we got to help push them until they at least get that to happen, because that changes everything, man. When you get that first win, you become a different wrestler.
Oh, absolutely. And, we talk all the time is you can't take winning for granted. Winning is tough at any level. I mean, everybody's practicing, everybody's doing the things that you're supposed to, and everybody's trying to do a little bit extra. So, it's always good to see those kids who haven't got a win before to taste a little bit of success. But, even the people who won before, they don't ever should take it for granted, because, it's everybody's out there working, man. Everybody wants to get better. So, it's a humbling experience, but it's incredibly cool to watch. Even like Hardyville, but also you get to watch Bamberg, man. Bamberg,
Hmm.
15 or 20 years ago, I mean, they were as good as any. I remember when Cody Slaughter was there, and I mean they were competing with 4A and 5A teams, or
Yeah.
back then it was 4A, and they were in the state finals, had some hammers, and they kind of took a drop off. I haven't seen them lately, and to see them yesterday was pretty cool. Seeing Bamberg back in the mix, and
Yeah.
they've always got a rich history. I mean, heck, in football, they just won a state championship, so
Yeah.
it was good to see them.
Yeah, they barely had their team yesterday, because a lot of those guys were still playing football Friday night, and they got the win Friday, so they weren't quite ready to strap it on Saturday yet, and I don't blame them. Take your time, get your weight in order, and bask in the glory for a little bit. But they'll be out there. That's who we're shooting for at Hardyville. I mean, that's the gold standard in our region, and they thumped us last year, and we're going to try to give them a little bit better fight this year, and maybe next year, it's a little bit better one, and we're just going to keep plugging along at that goal. But yeah, we took 6 kids on Friday, and had a couple third place finishers, so that was an awesome thing in the middle school ranks. So we were really happy with the kids we got there. We had some didn't make the bus on Saturday. You know how that goes when you're building a program. You're trying to get people to understand what the level of commitment is here on Saturdays, and it's kind of a hard sell for some of them. But we're getting there. We took a handful. Our varsity guys struggled But that was to be expected. I mean, we drew you a couple of times, pal. You know, we got our 57 is he's pretty good wrestler for our level, but he drew Blake Butler off the rip, and that's probably, that's one of the best kids pound for pound in the state. And he competed. He made Blake work for his win, and we were really happy with that. Another kid, our 215, drew Colton Freeman right off the rip, and that's about as tough a kid as you're going to run into anywhere in the state around here. Um, but they got exposed to that. They had some great scraps, and their girls did really well. We had one girl should have won the whole thing. She was up 11-1 and got caught in a headlock. So she asked me after, how do you defend that? And we talked about it. We had talked about it, but we talked about it more. And another girl got a good pin over a good girl from Beaufort who's been wrestling for a few years. So, just small successes are really going to help us recruit in our hallways. And we're hoping kids bringing medals home or to school on Monday will spark a little something, and we'll fill up some of those lineup spots. But we were toward the bottom of most of the standings, but you were at the top over there, pal. Your varsity and your JV both did what you'd expect them to do. I'm sure there were some spots where you maybe felt like you could have done a little more, but overall, you guys look like you're kind of picking up where you left off. It looks like you got a little work to do as far as getting guys to the weights they want to be at, and certainly, kind of ironing out what's going to happen in the upper weights, where you're not quite as deep as you are in the lower weights. But you guys look pretty strong. You feeling good about a title defense?
I mean, obviously, it's really, really early. We got a lot of work to do, like
Yeah.
you said. We take notes, and then like I said, we communicate a bunch today, trying to figure out what areas we need to improve on as a team, and specifically some of our individuals. We wrestled hard, and there was some kids who were matched up against kids who were good.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a couple kids at the tournament are state champs or state placers, and
Hmm.
but I think top to bottom, that when we're outmatched, we got to first find a way not to get pinned. I mean, in terms of
Yep.
trying to be a state championship caliber team, you just can't give up 6 points.
Right.
And
Turn
so
sixes into threes and threes
that's
into
right.
sixes.
That's correct. And I think we wrestled hard overall, but as a coach, you look at the ones that you lost and figured out what we can do better to get that particular kid or whatever. So, but overall, I think for being a first tournament, December the 3rd, I think we're going in the right direction, but we definitely got to get a lot done and get a lot better between now and then. It doesn't get any easier for us. We wrestle over at South Effingham and Brunswick on Wednesday. I think South Effingham's number 2 team in Georgia, and then Brunswick, I think, is number 3 team in Georgia. So it will
Oh
be
wow.
we will be very tested to the core come here Wednesday. But hopefully, again, it's all live practice and preparation for January and February.
Yeah. And we
Yeah,
didn't
those
get to
boys are doing
see.
well on out there, pal.
Yeah.
And you guys, you do the work, and the work has to be put in to get to that level, and then now stay at that level. And you're talking about South Effingham. They found that out. They were up at Creekview, who's number 1 in their division. And they finished second to Creekview at their tournament. They had also last week or 2 weeks ago at the Turkey Duels, they lost to Creekview by 1 in a duel. So yeah, it's tough, man. You gotta match up. You got to get it done, and you do the work in the room, and it shows on the mat. And that'll all come out. But the goal's the postseason. The end of the year, to get it done. Individually and team wise. So
Yeah, man. And
Absolutely.
it was a little disappointing though. Bluffton didn't have their varsity in there, so we didn't get kind of a true picture. I know it's weird early in the season, everybody's not down to weight, so it's not like a true Lowcountry Championships, I guess, like you would have at the end of a season. But still, it's kind of cool to take a snapshot at the start and see where everybody stacks up. And it was kind of a bummer that their varsity guys weren't there, as well as JP2, because they got a couple of guys that can compete with some of the better kids in the area. So would have liked to have seen that to get a few more matches of matchups of top level guys. But and the weights are weird. So like Alfonso went against Sowers. That was a great matchup, but not one we'll probably see later in the season because they'll probably be at different weights. So some stuff like that. Wes White, Whale Branch had a really good tournament. Um, he impressed me. Let's see who some other champs. You had Calderon, May River 106. That was expected. Miles DeGraffenried's reads off to a tremendous start at 113. Bryce Butler at 120, and obviously weights could fluctuate there. Stevenson at 26 from Hilton Head. He's a hammer. Marcus Folk wrestled a great tournament at 32 and won it. Gavin Bennett from Buford snuck in there at 38. A name that I wasn't as familiar with coming in. Sowers at 44 from Hilton Head. Thomas Bro, is it Bro?
Well, I call it bruff, but I don't know if I may be
Bruff.
saying it wrong. But
Bruff. All right.
I say bruff as in like rough, like
Rough.
bruff.
Yeah,
Or
that works. That works for me. Bro.
but
Bro.
I've been known to mispronounce a name or two. So
Right.
When
Right.
he came through McCracken Middle School, he was bro. So I don't know. Yeah.
Bro.
Yeah.
I go with Bro.
well, there
What
was
up,
a kid
what
on
up,
our
bro?
team that I
What up?
mispronounced his last name for 4 years, and at the banquet, his mom said, "Hey, coach, just so you know, that's a E-N, not an O-N at the end of his name." And okay, all right, well, I apologize. So there is a good chance that I'm wrong and y'all are right.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Not an authority on the matter. Let's put it that way. Blake, well, he wanted a 150. Tommy looked good. Blake Butler 157. He's a hammer. Bamberg got in there at 65. Omarion Wilson. Kevin Summers from Bridges looking really good coming out of the gate at 175. Your guy Henry Santee at 190. I love him going back to middle school. He has gotten big, man. When I saw he was at 190, I was like, no way. But then I saw how thick his chest was, and it made
Yeah,
sense.
he loves to lift weights, man.
You can
I mean, I
tell.
think last week, he's only a sophomore. I think he maxed out at 295 on the bench. I mean, he loves lifting weights, and I think he's going to be a really good one for us.
Yeah, he's going to be a good football player too, I'm guessing, right?
Yes, sir. That's good.
Yeah, Colton Freeman, 215 from Buford. He was a state runner-up last year, looking to get gold this year. And then Jaden Priester from Buford, a heavyweight. He looked good too. That you want to talk about a barrel-chested young man?
Yeah,
Goodness
right.
sakes.
He's athletic, and it's
Oof.
very helpful to both of them to have a 215 and a heavyweight back to back. I can
Yeah.
imagine they're making each other a whole lot better every day. So those
Oh
are
yeah.
two really really good high school wrestlers.
Very, very good. Yeah, they look strong. That lineup looked, really solid. Kobe's doing a really good job with that program, and I know Ron had to step away this year. He's been helping him, and he had to have a surgery. But no, Kobe's done a heck of a job with that program, and they look awfully strong coming out of the gate. So quite a few impressive runs there on the champs. My son got a JV title. That was pretty cool. He only had 2 matches, but that was awesome. Falco Kelly, I was excited to see him get one at 215, and then Carmelo Williams. I hadn't seen him in a year or two either. He must have fallen in love with the weight room too over at Bluffton because he has gotten big. He wanted it heavy. Yeah, a bunch of names in there. Spencer McCallum looked really good. Jake Izzy, Zales Ruiz from Battery Creek. That kid has come so far in a couple of years. David Bain also won one for Creek. Oliver Wong, another kid I love to watch wrestle. He has some of the wildest matches, but he'll pull some stuff from out of nowhere. That jujitsu stuff, man.
Right, and that's one of the big reasons that we go over to Hilton Head. I mean, there's obviously a lot of opportunities. You can go anywhere in the state and wrestle or whatever, but you know, Newton is always an incredible supporter of ours, and we want to support the local coaches. More importantly, I mean, it's hard to we want to be the best in the county, and and that's one of our goals. But
Yep.
also, you get a chance to see your JV kids and your girls wrestle under one roof, which I
Yes.
think, in terms of program wise, is incredibly important. So you know, why don't you go here? Why don't you go there? But I think it's important that we wrestle right there in our backyard. I think we had probably close to 40 kids on the mat between all 3 programs, and
Yeah.
and it was good. So we enjoy it, and I
Yeah.
think it's a good start. And it's gonna get tougher and tougher each week. So we'll see.
Well, like, I
Yeah.
want to
I
piggyback on
love.
you. Can I piggyback on Powell real quick on
Yeah.
that?
Get in there.
Yeah, the morale for the team because you got them all together.
Yeah.
They're not, this one's over here, that one's down the road over here. Everybody's together and they get to cheer each other on.
Hmm.
one of the few times of the season you really get to do that. And if you get it in there early, the morale for the team, that boost is it's huge, to
Yeah.
have that
We
happen.
we even had middle school kids ask us Friday night, "Hey, can I come get on the bus Saturday morning and come cheer for them?" Which was awesome. Like we're trying to build that culture of supporting each other and being all in and all that stuff. And it was an awesome event because we had our guys, going crazy for our girls and our girls going crazy for our guys. And I love it. I think conceptually what Newton put together, the idea of because everybody gets at least two matches against at least reasonably like skill, because like we put some of our varsity guys down in JV because it's what they need right now. Now those are the ones that didn't make the bus, of course, but except for one of them. But we were able to put our kids in situations where they were wrestling in their end of the pool, and everybody got at least two, and the round robins were awesome because then you got maybe three or four, and that was fantastic because our kids just need mat time. They just need to wrestle, and that's what the middle schoolers need. That's what everybody needs. We don't need to all go 4 hours away and do this every weekend. If we can meet up at each other's gyms once a month and do it like this, that would make a lot of sense to me. So especially early in the year, I love just getting that many kids experience. It's also a great way to acclimate our families who are new to this sport to the idea that look, we're going to take your children at 7 o'clock in the morning, and we're going to return them at some unknown time later. And we know that's a weird thing for you, but when you get to see the first one at home, and it's not quite as long of a day, but you can then explain that, okay, this was a smaller tournament. The bigger tournaments are going to go 2 or 4 or 6 hours longer than this. Then you've kind of acclimated to them to what they're getting themselves into with this weekly travel and circus somewhere different every weekend. So
Well, talking
I
about
just
your
think it's a
folks, Justin.
brilliant event.
Hey, your folks, they got their first home duel this past
They
week
did.
and
They
their
did.
first home victory. So,
They
I mean, that was
did.
pretty cool for the Hurricanes, to get that win at home. And again, like you said, you got all your people there cheering each other on, and, they get to feel it in their home gym. So,
The only
very
unfortunate
cool.
thing for us was that it was over in about what, 28 minutes, 26 minutes,
22,
22 minutes.
22 minutes.
um
Yeah.
we ended up with what, eight forfeits between us.
Yeah.
Guys,
Yeah.
that
Score,
could
your
that
score
Six
could
was
first
still,
period
Justin,
pins.
that could be a state record. I mean,
It might
think
be.
about that. The quickest dual win in South Carolina history, 22 minutes. I would go
So
ahead and claim it if I were you.
the stars had to align for us because our 144 decided he needed to go to work at the Shell station out in Levy more than he needed to come to the duel. So I guess he got the call, and that was more important. So he went to work. So it was real dicey for us. So we had to get real creative with some bumps in the lineup to fill some spots. And we only won one contested match, but the strategy and the recruiting, because I was able to march out a couple kids who just had a couple of days of practice and let them get their hand raised. The mariachi of death, for example, he was 3 days of practice in when he marched out to receive his 6 points, Alex Jacobo. So yeah, there was some creativity there, and then we got a little help because Whale Branch's 126 injured himself in warm-ups, which I, I credited my 126 for not getting hurt in warmups. I mean, sometimes that's enough. That makes the difference. He didn't warm up with a guy 40 pounds bigger than him, and that was smart of him.
Well, I
So
think the headline should have read "Hurricanes blow through with the quickest dual meet
yeah,
in South
exactly.
Carolina
We could
history." So,
we could spin it that way, but I had done the math, so I knew if we won at 215, we were going to win the duel,
right,
and if we got pinned at 215, we were going to tie. And I'm quite familiar with the tiebreaker criteria because we've had some historical criteria matches here, including a Hilton Head Bluffton one a few years back.
right.
So I had already figured it out that, hey, we got this thing. It's forfeits. We got this thing. So I grin and I say, George, criteria. And he looks at the scoreboard and goes, oh. So we go to the book. Charlie comes over and says, "I think it's pins. I think it's pins." I said, "Yeah, I bet you do think it's pins, Charlie. It's forfeits."
Of course. Came down
So
to
it was wild.
criteria F, which was lesser number
Yeah,
of forfeits. Criteria
yeah,
F. Yeah.
yeah. So it was interesting because it was a historic first duel in our school's history, and um, it was an introduction to the sport for the smattering of fans who made it. Um, but they got to see something that you don't very often get to see. One that goes to criteria. It's certainly 42-42, split down the middle, all sixes. That's pretty wild. So, but we were hoping for a bigger crowd. But our basketball team was practicing in the auxiliary gym, the elementary gym, and they didn't get out until 7, and we were done about 6:22.
Yeah,
So
they didn't
luckily we
really
got
get
a
an
couple
opportunity
more
to
home games
watch.
lined up.
Yeah.
That was a bummer. You had some good action in your place, pal, the other night. You got a lot of JV matches in, which was awesome. I mean, you guys ran through Windsor Forest, which is to be expected, and handled yourself pretty well against Bluffton too. I mean, dominated them, but yeah,
They're
it was
they're
a good
mu- they're
night.
much they're much better.
They're strong.
They got some upper weights that gave us a little bit of problems.
Hmm.
Coach Nutter, he's a wrestling guy, man. He's a wrestling
They got a lot
family.
of kids.
They got a lot of kids and man strength are in numbers, and they got some strong athletic kids up top. And um, you know, I'm sure they're going to get to work and try to get a little better before region play, as to be expected. Hopefully, we're definitely going to do the same. But they, they they got a full lineup. They got some really good
Yeah,
kids down low, um,
yeah.
who I think are as good as any.
Hmm.
It'll be interesting moving forward. I think obviously you got to keep building. Everybody's got to practice. You got to stay healthy. You got to keep them locked in. So a lot of things can happen between now and then, but they're definitely better.
Yeah, no doubt.
Well, it'd be
Hilton
nice
Head,
to see a all low country lower state final.
that'd be fantastic.
Especially in all lower state Beaufort County, south of the Broad.
Well, we
Lower
had one
state
a couple
final.
years ago. Y'all faced Hilton Head
Yeah,
in a lower
Hilton Head.
state a
Yeah,
couple years back. What was that? 2020, right? That was COVID, or 2021 COVID year.
Oh man, they all run together. I think it was yeah, it was once or twice. I think it was once. Then we met them in the third round once as well. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
think
yeah,
so. I
yeah.
think it was 21. They came to your place for lower state.
I think you might be right.
Yeah, that sounds right. But yeah, we've had a few over the years, I think. But Creek looks solid. Hilton Head looks solid. They're young. They're developing, especially at the lower weights. They got some freshmen in there, that are gonna develop quickly at the varsity level because it's just speeding up and getting acclimated to it. But
They will be good. I
Newton's.
think Newton's one of the best coaches in our state.
Oh yeah.
He does a phenomenal job. He's got great help over there with him. They're all locked
Hmm.
in. He's doing it the right way. His middle school is right beside his high school. They all practice together, so they're
Hmm.
getting that system underneath their belt. And if I told Mike at the tournament, I think they look very good.
Yeah.
And the young kids will be substantially better when it comes there. And Mike's incredibly good about moving his
Yeah.
lineup around and getting the best matchups. I mean, he's one of the best when it
Yeah.
comes to that. I mean,
He
so.
really is.
So I fully expect them to be really good. Like I said, I mean they got a great coaching staff, and I do think Mike Newton is one of the best coaches in our state. So
Yeah. Yeah, and then Beaufort looks solid too. So I mean, the region, you don't have to go hunting a whole lot to find good competition. It's going to come to you for the most part. So which is not always the case. So that's a good thing that we got in our pocket.
we've been
Um,
hoping for that for a long time to kind of get it back to the days of old with
right.
Battery Creek, Hilton Head, Beaufort being
Yeah.
top 7 or 8 in the state.
Yeah.
I'd love to see that again with our teams at every level. The whale branches that at the lower level, moving on up through Battery Creek and then to the Beaufort High and
Yeah. I
Bluffton and
tell you.
May River and Hilton Head.
Whale Branch doesn't have a whole lot of kids, but they have quality kids who go hard. That Bartley kid at 132 is a handful, and Wesley White obviously is very good. Who do you end up losing to? I guess the Battery Creek kid, but he knocked off Liam. Is that who he got?
Yeah, he wrestled Lim.
Yeah,
I was actually on the JV side, so I didn't actually see the match. But I mean, Lim's up. That kid beat him. I mean, that
yeah,
kid's good. But
he
yeah,
is.
go back
He's
off
tough.
what George was saying, man. When I first got here 10 years ago, I mean the county was tough, man. Um,
Yeah.
and I remember being in Lake City and reading the Island Packet back in the day, as I thought
Yeah.
that was one of the better coveraged athletic papers, and I just enjoyed reading
It
things about
was.
wrestling. And that, man, it was you got Battery Creek, Hilton Head, Bluffton, and you got Buford High. I mean, all of them were there together. I mean, it was some of the best. I mean, our first region
Yeah.
dual match 10 years ago, we wrestled Battery Creek Nate Day the year they wrestled in the state finals in 2000, which would have been 16-17 season. And and they beat us in all 14 weight classes. I think the score was
Wow.
82-0. That was our very first region match against them, and they were absolutely loaded. And I said, "Man, what did I get myself into?" Uh, but a lot of
I
pride, and
see you got a
that goes
dog over
back to
there. I raised you a
buddy.
cat.
Oh, there you go. You can have those cats. But yeah, and it's getting back. And I mean, I think you go with we got a lot of really, really good coaches in our area that put the time in and they care about the sport, and that's incredibly important. So, I think sooner rather than later, it's going to be back to hopefully that type, because that iron sharpens iron, and when you can wrestle good people in your area and everybody gets better, that only makes everybody else get better.
Always
Yeah.
coming too. I mean, between our headlining sponsor, Reverence Wrestling Club, which is just a tremendous resource that we have. I mean, they have the open mat every Sunday, 11 to 12:30. You can drop in and pay $15 and get an hour and a half of just really high level uh, opportunity, to expand your horizons in the sport. And then they got all kinds of programs, and the programming is way more inexpensive than what you're talking about with most sports when you talk about outside training. I mean, I think it's like $100 a month to get virtually unlimited training and access to clinics and stuff. So can't beat that. And then I think what Coach Rob is doing north of the Broad with the Bull Sharks Rec Club is tremendous as well. And that is going to pay major dividends for all those programs on the Buford side, because he's getting kids in early and he is training them how to wrestle. I mean, these kids are coming in. I've been watching his videos. He's got some little hammers over there. And when you get kids coming into the middle school who already have those foundational skills, and you can start layering a little bit earlier, man, we could have something special. So we need more of that. More kids getting involved at the younger ages. Because I mean, I come from Kansas, where like my mom literally said, you can start wrestling when you can read in the newspaper when they're having the tryouts. And I was 5 when I brought her the newspaper and said, "Time to go try out for wrestling." So, that's the key to those places like Iowa and Pennsylvania and Oklahoma and Ohio. They're doing it from a young age, and so we got a lot of kids who are starting at a totally different place on the curve, but you can navigate it in a hurry. I mean, you guys have seen guys who came to the sport late, but just had natural talent for it and an aptitude for kind of understanding how things work, the physics of it, and they just took to it quickly and fell in love with it and became animals. So
Well, one of
um,
those was Tim Dudley, who's now the coach at Campbell. I mean,
yeah,
he didn't start until late. He was a freshman when he started, and wound up winning the Super 32. Going to Nebraska, national runner-up, D1 runner-up, and now he's a
crazy.
D1 coach. So,
Uh,
yeah, it can happen.
Never know, man.
Definitely, yeah.
It's definitely a sport that you get out what you put in. I mean, the more work you put into it, the better you're going to get. And the other thing is, you could wrestle a kid that you're evenly matched with 100 times, and nobody win more than 55. Like it's going to go back and forth, back and forth. And I love that part about it. It's like it's unpredictable. Even good kids get caught. I mean, if you can fight and stay in the match, you've got a chance. And I don't know. I just think it teaches kids so much about life and perseverance. And there's nobody to point the finger at. There's nobody to blame. It was you and that other person. We made you weigh in before to make sure it was a fair fight. And somebody won and somebody lost. And now, what are you going to do about it? You're going to go get better so you can beat them next time, or what? I had a girl come off after she lost. She got thrown in a headlock and pinned up 11-1. She lost to the girl by pin 2 weeks ago, just got dominated. And she came off and she was grinning so big. And she said, Coach, I'm going to beat her next time, I promise. And I said, I was going to tell you the same thing. And that's just the best to watch those kids grow and gain confidence, because they were all terrified the first match, right? Like, just terrified. And then soon enough, they're going out there with confidence. So I love the young people we're making in this sport, man. It's awesome.
And the good thing, like on Friday with the middle schoolers, those kids are learning how to, not only how to wrestle, but how to manage a match.
Yeah.
And the JVs the same way. They're learning to manage a match. There was one match, it was 0-0 first period. Second period, the kid chose top. And
Oops.
didn't look at the coach, and I'm repping, and I go, you might want to look at your coach. Nope, I'm taking top. Okay, well, he took top. The kid got the escape. Now he's down 1-0. Third period, the other kid chooses bottom,
Yep.
and they're both active. So, and it's a 1 minute period, so it's kind of hard to hit a stall in there. But the kid, he lost 1-0, and so he came over and talked to me after, and it was one of the last matches of the night. And I was like, look, so what'd you learn tonight? What'd you learn this over this evening while you were wrestling? You really dominated some people, but you got to be smart about your choices. I said, and don't be afraid to look at your coach. I mean, the coach will tell you what he thinks you need to do in that situation, and you probably should have looked at your coach on that one, right? Yeah, let's defer. Let's go to the third period, make that choice. Now, if you've wrestled a kid before and it's 0-0, you might want to score the first point and choose bottom, because if you get the one, now you get to the ultimate, you got the choice, right? So, but, he gave up that they chose top thinking he was going to turn the kid, and the kid was a scrapper on bottom, and he never could turn him. So, he lost 1-0, and it was in the finals. And it's a tough loss. But look, as you said, it's early in the season. This is not really the goal. The goal is the postseason, trying to win the qualifying tournaments as a middle schooler, get to the point where you make it to the state tournament and bring back hardware from state, So.
Right. Yeah. And that's what I was saying to somebody last night. I talked to a lot of people last night, but I was talking to somebody, and they're kind of bumming about losing a match or something. And I said, look, man, it's December 6th. Like, this one's just part of the mosaic. Like, we don't really care what the overall record is at the end. We care about where we finish at the end. So, kids wrestling up weights and stuff like that, that's good for you. Having to grind against somebody that you're giving up 10 pounds to by the time you line up, that does more for you than going and whipping people in your weight class. So, it's all in the plan, all in the journey, and that's the beauty of it. You get to go do it again next week, and might get to see some of the same kids and get a little redemption or a little more humility. Never do know. But it serves you whatever you need. This sport. That seems to be the case. If you need confidence, it seems to find you with confidence. And if you need humility, it's got plenty of that to go around. So what do you guys got going this week? I know, pal, you're going to Georgia. You got some tough matches, and then you go to Dutch Fork on the weekend?
Yeah, so we'll wrestle over Brunswick and South Effingham on Wednesday. We'll practice Thursday, Friday, and get on the bus and make the trek up to Dutch Fork. Kind of gives us the opportunity to see some of those Midlands teams. And which is kind of what we want to do is, we a lot of people, some people try to get all dual tournaments, and we try to go half and half. My thought always on that is you go to all duals tournaments, your best kids may get bumped away from, so they don't get those tough matches. So we try to do an even balance of duals and individuals. Duals are important because everybody gets the matches, but I think individual is good too, because you're going to get, in theory, every round your kid should have a tougher opponent. We're going to go up there next weekend or this weekend coming and see what we can do.
How many teams they got up there?
I think the last thing I checked, it was around 20 something. They may go a little bit higher now because you can do the 6 matches in a day deal as opposed to what used to be 5. Because that used to be the holdback to having 1 day events, is you could probably cap it at 16. But with the addition to be able to go to 6, I think a lot of people are getting to the 22, 23 range and hoping that they can get it in.
Yeah, 10-4. Yeah, we go to Burke on Tuesday, and somebody else is going to be there. I'm not sure who. Should be fair fight with Burke. I don't know who the other opponent is. So that'll be fun. Might challenge the 22 minutes. I don't know how many they got and where they are, but we might challenge it. And then we go to Edisto on Saturday for Cougar Takedown, which is about 11, mostly 1A and 2A schools. So it'll be our level and kind of a preview for lower state qualifier type stuff. So that'll be a good look for us. And George, you're busy this week. What all you got?
And I'm hopping and bopping this week. I'm going to help do some training tomorrow night with my son and a new ref that we have. Used to wrestle at Bluffton, Oscar Flores. And then Tuesday night, I'm doing a Zoom clinic for Florida officials. Wednesday, at Beaufort for a try. Thursday, middle school try. Friday, I'm over in Savannah or in Effingham on the Georgia side doing the first day of their tournament. And then Saturday, the McCracken Bulldogs will be hosting the Bulldog Bash 8-team round robin thing for middle school teams, which will be McCracken, Robert Smalls, and JP2. Everybody else is Georgia. So kind of like Powell's talking about going to see other competition. We actually we're going to bring the competition to McCracken and let those kids go.
I love that.
McCracken will have 2 teams in it, and everybody else will have 1. So obviously it's our tournament. We're trying to get our kids
Middle's not going.
matches. No, Bluffton Middle, Hilton Head. Like I said,
Middle could have put about 3 teams in. He's got
they could have easily done 2. But John said maybe next year they'd be able to work that in. So I tried Ladies Island. I tried some other schools. I wanted it to be like a half and half kind of deal. Beaufort County and then the rest Georgia teams. So everybody's going to get in schools. Everybody's going to get in.
That's awesome.
4 matches. So
we're trying to recruit a few more middle schoolers. We got 6 right now. If we can get about 2 or 3 more, we can come over and tangle with y'all in some duels.
Well, if you get them, let us know. We'll try to add you in on a duel somewhere. And
we're hoping those medals going to school on Monday help us pick up a few more. And the social media photos, those usually help too. And just the reporting on what a fun time it was at the traveling wrestling circus. I think the kids have a grand old time. They seem to. They don't know where their shoes are when they're supposed to wrestle and everything else. So they seem to be having a good time. We're adopting Powell's rule starting yesterday, that when we get there and weigh in, we tape our shoes on and we don't take them off until we're done wrestling, because I'm done with coming to the mat without the shoes on. That's not going to happen again.
They're learning. They're trying to figure it out. So.
Oh goodness, it was good times. It was a great kickoff to the season, and definitely look forward to what is to come. It's awesome to see all the girls wrestling. Those numbers continue to go up. That's phenomenal. I'm getting way into the girls wrestling because we got some girls that are putting themselves into it, and so I really want to support them. And of course, my nieces wrestle in Kansas, so I'm a big supporter of the girl sport. And then one other note I was going to tell you guys and our audience. You guys, well, you weren't there Friday night, pal, probably, but Macy Estrella, aka Lacey Evans of WWE fame, is helping coach the girls at Ladies Island Middle School because her daughter Summer is a little hammer. I covered her amateur MMA debut about a year and a half ago when she was this little 12-year-old sprite who went out and about broke a little girl's arm in a arm bar. And I got to see her wrestle. Unfortunately, she was wrestling a little girl I coach in softball who was wrestling her first matches of her life. And she was in a round robin with Summer and had to wrestle her 3 times. So that was unfortunate for her. A rude entry to the sport, but better days ahead for Lexi. And it's cool to see Summer out there wrestling, and to see Macy. I've gotten to know her a little bit, and she definitely adds some personality to the mix, much like BJ Payne, a former pro wrestler. And I think that'll help attract more girls to the sport. So I'm excited for that. But anything else, boys?
I think I'm good, man. And as always, man, we definitely appreciate the coverage. Like I told Justin, I said after our duels match, I said, all right, now I'm not going to send you what their actual results are. I'll send the weight classes in jumbled up order, because a lot of people around the state know that Justin does his write ups and does his little podcast, so they can go on there and find out what weight
Get the
all our
dirt.
kids are at without really having to do any research. And I said, I'll send you everything you need, but I'll misspell some names, change some orders, so we can keep them guessing. But on a serious note, man, we do really appreciate all your support and everything that you do for high school wrestling. And obviously, we're incredibly grateful that we have George, who, like I said, it's
Man.
about that time. Probably Tuesday this week. I'll text him and ask him the three same officiating questions that I ask every year. And I started off by saying, George, I know this is the ninth time that I've asked you this in 9 straight years. And they're like, yes, Powell, that is 100% correct. What the question that you're asking me. So George, I'll probably text you on Tuesday and ask you that question.
And I'll give you my stock answer on that, and we'll be good.
Yeah.
But funny, you were talking about this podcast, and again, to piggyback on that, we do appreciate everything you do. In the Lowco for the sport, all sports, but especially ours, because it doesn't get the coverage that it really deserves. But Justin and I were talking this weekend about the old days. That when I was coaching, I had to go to the Beaufort Gazette, the Island Packet, the state paper, the Post and Courier. I had to go in there and buy papers every
the Times and
week.
Democrat, the Florence Morning News.
Yeah, clip them out so I could find out who wrestled at what weight, and do my homework on. Okay, well, this guy was here. I know kind of where I need to work my line up to put my people. And so we were talking about the old days on that with newspapers having to figure that stuff out. So
Yeah, absolutely. We took it seriously too. We tried to track down every dang box score we could get our hands on. We went because y'all wouldn't send them in.
What?
Or you would send them in with the names misspelled and all that, like Powell. But no, we'd go and we'd document the whole thing, match for match, every time. I mean, those were the days. I'd love to have an army of reporters I could send out to do that, so Powell couldn't give me the runaround. But we're not quite there yet. Maybe a few more sponsors, but no, man, it's all good. And it's a great time being around the people involved with this sport in our area. It's just a good bunch of people who are about the kids. And somebody said to me, it was Miss Fontana. Her boys wrestle for Hilton Head, and she said, she was hesitant for her boys to wrestle. She wasn't sure about that, but she said, I love baseball coaches. I love all the coaches my boys have had in baseball, but there's something different about the relationship between a wrestler and the wrestling coach. It is a deeper bond. It is a really meaningful connection. And that's why you see, every coach, when your guy wins a state championship, like he jumps in your arms and you're bawling. Like it is a very much a joint venture to get somebody to the mountaintop in this sport. And we do pour a lot of ourselves into the kids. And that's why it means so much when we see the work pay off for them and they get the wins, because it takes a special kind of kid to want to do this. I mean, I've been challenging some manhood in my school because we sent a girl at 190 the other night, and it was just a collective forfeit, but it could have been no, it wasn't actually. She went and fought a grown man at 190. And I've been telling the boys in our school, hey, Priscilla's the toughest 190 pounder in our school. You can't tell me otherwise, because she's the only one who's walked out there on that mat. So it takes something special to be able to do it, and to keep doing it is really something. Keep doing it until you start winning. So keep grinding out there, kids, and we'll be talking about you on the grind soon enough. So for Ashley Powell and George Dixon, I'm Justin Jarrett. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. And until next time, keep grinding and go Lowco.